Echo. Did you hear it just then?
Yeah, it's coming.
In the other room.
Yeah. No, well, I think I'm the echoer.
Echoey.
Stop it.
Up with it for 3 hours, it'll be fine.
We just test that. You hear that, Mark? I'll try that. Let's close the door.
Better than it was, though.
And you got
Oh, we can't close the door.
Ian's.
Ian's, yeah.
That's time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. In the event of emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to evacuate the building by the rear entrance and gather in the breezeway between the library and art gallery buildings. This is the council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear is given and the area is deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any person present with a disability to vacate the building. Item 1.1, apologies of absence. Mr. Chief Executive Officer, do we have any?
We have none. Councillor Duffy is not here, but he may be late.
Thank you. Item 1.2, live streaming and recording. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at the council meeting, that you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of the meeting. A recording of the council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land. I would like to pay my respects to elders both past, present, the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend the respect to Aboriginal Australians and all other non-Indigenous people with us here tonight. Item 1.4, declaration of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflict of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? Councillor Kinghorn.
Surprise. Yes, I have two. The Planning and Development Committee items 2.3 and 2.4, as my husband's consulting business has done work on these sites.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any others? Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Significant non-pecuniary interest in Finance Policy Committee, item 2.1, part 2, number 3, application from Orange Together. I'm a member of the organisation that's applying for the funding.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Yes, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a non-significant non-pecuniary interest in the same item 2.1 of the Finance Policy Committee meeting, as I know the applicant for item number 3. However, I'm not involved in the organisation, so I will still say in and vote on the matter.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Any further? Yes, Councillor Powell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to declare conflict of interest in the finance, policy meeting at 2.1.3, the Orange Together, due to they were supportive of my campaign in the last election.
Will you be staying in the room or?
I'll be leaving the room, thanks, sir.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Roddy.
I have a non-significant interest in the Finance Policy Committee, item 2.1 for the Orange Theatre Company. I've been given tickets to the opening night in return for promoting the show on my social media and just within my networks. I will stay in the room and vote.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further? Being none, we'll move on to the next item. Open forum. The council meeting will now adjourn for the conduct of the open forum. When addressing the council, speakers at the public forum must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and all other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct, or making other potential defamatory statements. I ask that all of you be respectful of this chamber and all that are here tonight. We have 4 registered speakers tonight, and before we hear the speakers, I would just I'll introduce the speakers once the first speaker comes up. The first speaker is speaking on Financial Policy Committee item 2.1 in brackets 3, small donations, to donate $2,500 to the Orange Together to contribute to cost of screening films and travel expenses relating to Orange event for the National Reconciliation Week. We have Mr. Tom Hazel speaking. Would you like to come up to the lectern? Sorry, what did I say? Your brother.
It's Jeff.
Jeff, thank you. Mr. Hazel, I'd just like to introduce the councillors to you. We have Councillor Whitten, Deputy Mayor Greenhalgh, Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard, Councillor Ruddy, Councillor Stedman, Councillor Judge, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Peterson. Hazel, you have 5 minutes if you'd like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about our proposal for a donation towards the event we're planning. Orange Together is a group of Orange-based citizens who, at the time of the referendum for the Voice, we were supportive of the Voice, and perhaps afterwards we were a bit disappointed that it hadn't progressed as we thought it would. But we kept meeting, and it dawned on us that we actually didn't really even know what the position of the local Aboriginal people in Orange was about the Voice, because almost all of us didn't really know anyone in Orange. Some of us had worked with Aboriginal people, but very few of us had relationships of any significance with Aboriginal citizens. And we thought it was a good idea for us to try and change that by offering to work with and get to know the Aboriginal organisations and what their objectives were, and to see if there any way in which we could achieve their objectives. Last year we became Incorporated Association, and we are affiliated with Reconciliation New South Wales, covered by them for insurance whenever we offer an event, etc., which is what we're proposing to do on the 1st of June. That week is National Reconciliation Week, and we thought it was a good opportunity for us to actually launch ourselves into the community, if you like, with something other than our own internal meetings. Over the last 18 months, we've formed pretty positive relationships, very positive relationships with Orange Local Aboriginal Land Council and with the Medical Service and with the Education Consultation Group. And we're delighted that they have joined with us to put together this event. And our main objective for the event is to put on an event which both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people in Orange would be delighted to come to and have a good afternoon learning a little bit about Aboriginal issues, not so much issues, but Aboriginal stories. So we're showing 3 films that are made by a local Aboriginal filmmaker, Jack Steele, as well as a film supported by Parks Council on the resurrection of the Wiradjuri language, and then a feature film after afternoon tea. Our objective is basically to build relationships. So reconciliation can't happen if you don't have a relationship. You're trying to reconcile something that's fallen apart, but if you don't actually have a relationship to start with, there's nothing to reconcile. So we would like... we are hoping that this will be a very appealing event for people to come to. It's going to be fun. We'll learn a lot. We'll have a cup of tea. and hopefully we'll then leave with some new friends. We'll see this as a positive thing for the community and the beginning of perhaps something that we might do from time to time to just improve our own understanding and our own contact with some really fine people in the Aboriginal community that we've got to know so far. Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trevor. Our next two speakers are on Planning and Development Committee item 2.2, Development Application DA 578/2024, number 1, lots 21, 23 and 25 Edward Street. Our first speaker is Mr. Warwick Westcott from On Track Ag. Mr. Westcott, would you like to come up to the electorate, please? You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Milano and Orange City councillors. As mentioned, my name is Warwick Westcott, and I'm one of 3 directors of Orange local farm machinery business On Track Ag. We're here tonight to express our concerns regarding the proposed McNeely precinct development, its potential impact on our business operations. Though we have previously expressed our concerns, we feel that there are simple solutions available to council to address our needs. Firstly, we appreciate the efforts to improve infrastructure in our town. However, we have identified a significant issue with the proposed cul-de-sac design, specifically regarding the turning radius for B-double trucks. Plans have correctly stated a B-double travelling 5 kilometres an hour requires a turning radius of approximately 12.5 metres. The proposed radius of cul-de-sac bulb matches this requirement, which initially seems suitable. However, this configuration means there would be no parking permissible within the cul-de-sac bulb. Given that our business relies heavily on convenient customer parking outside our business, this restriction could have serious implications. Parking availability is vital for our ageing customers to conduct sales, service and spare parts deliveries efficiently. Restricting parking would likely inconvenience our customers, potentially leading to decreased sales and customer satisfaction. Furthermore, parking outside our premises is essential for our staff. We employ 35 staff members across 3 branches, with more than 1/3 of them working from our Orange location. Our proposal is straightforward. We request a larger turning circle within the cul-de-sac to accommodate B-double trucks turning safely and preserve parking for our customers and staff. An increased turning radius would ensure trucks can manoeuvre without restriction, and the addition of designating parking spots would support the ongoing operation of our business. Looking beyond that immediate issue, I'd like to note that our current building, being built in 1974, at that time the location was chosen precisely because of its proximity to the sale yards and the fact that it had public truck and car parking. Incorporating dedicated car parking would help support existing and future businesses like ours, a safe workplace for customers and staff. We could also suggest that Lot 1, the proposed stormwater detention basin, could be adjusted to include parking facilities on one end. This may offer a practical solution for our staff parking without potentially compromising infrastructure. In conclusion, the current proposal and Council's response do not adequately address our needs and could inadvertently disadvantage a local employer and an economic contributor. We urge the Council to please reconsider the design, specifically the turning radius and parking provisions. We offer again an on-site consultative meeting, as we have done for several councillors, because our objections and potential solutions are far easier to explain on site. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am open for questions.
Yeah, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of things. How much on-site parking do you have?
We presently have, we presently require about 15 car parks for our staff and our neighbouring businesses staff. That's just staff.
How many on-site car parks do you currently have?
There are none because there's
There are
no
none.
provisions for
So
on-site parking.
on-site, there's nothing. It's all on the road.
Correct.
Okay. And you said a third of the 35 employees are in Orange,
Correct.
roughly 12. How many are there at any one time?
On any given day, there's approximately, as I said, about 15 cars down the bottom of that, down there, with our neighbours' staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Mr Westcott, my question is about, it's a council development application. Was there any discussion with council, with you, what they proposed for the development?
No.
I mean, it's one of the, just say no discussion whatsoever.
No, we attended several meetings in relation to proposed developments, but then basically the designs backflipped totally from what we saw initially, which looked fine, a lot smaller blocks. So, yeah, this is a totally different plan to what we didn't have a problem.
The 15 cars parks you're talking, that's not talking about your neighbours and as in Mayan Produce or...
It's just our staff and our immediate neighbour, Paul Haig.
Thank you. Yep.
Any other questions to Mr Westcott? There being none, thank you, Mr Westcott. You may sit down, sir. Our final speaker is on Planning and Development Committee item 2.3, Development Application DA 669/2024 in brackets 1, 357 and 361 Pinnacle Road. And we have Mr Craig Iflin, if you'd like to come up to the electorate, sir.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. To start off with, just to introduce myself, my name is Craig Ifland. I am the owner of 369 Pinnacle Road, which is the property adjacent to the proposed development, and I'm on the southern side of that. I purchased that particular property in 1997. And at the time, there's a covenant in place on the 4 lots from 351 to 381, I think it is, for sale, so that you could not actually subdivide, which was, in essence, the key attraction for the purchase. The lower eastern section of all 4 lots along that area have significant wet areas, which could be best described as having marshland type characteristics. This is obviously shown in the plans that have been submitted as part of the DA. My residence itself was built in 1999, and over the years since living there, I have witnessed the Blackman Swamp Creek overflow its banks many times, particularly when there is significant rainfall. And in regards to that, in conjunction with it, adjacent properties on the southern side suffering extensive pooling of lateral water within their eastern paddock areas. So I do have a few questions, and I'm not sure whether or not the council can help me with it, but I'm just interested to know if, firstly, the committee had reviewed the letter that I forwarded to Mr Paul Johnson and the Development Application Assessment Team on the 12th of December. Does any of the councillors know that? Oh, okay. No worries. Okay, thank you. No, that's fine. In part, in relation to that question, I was interested to know whether or not has council conducted or commenced a study on the impact of that development on the native wildlife as per the items in that letter, and whether or not the committee itself has visited the site and viewed firsthand the properties involved and the impacted properties by the proposed development. In saying that, the Shirley Development Control Plans of 2014 had certain objective and design principles, And in accordance with those design principles, they really extended to a number of items. First of all was to promote a high quality urban environment with a diversity of housing and recreation opportunities. The current design may not be in accordance with the proposed DCP lot sizes. This has been evidenced in our letter where we've asked Council to address the application under clause 41C of the LEP in relation to the split zones. And indeed, the original lot sizes in the original DCP of the Shirley Development Plan were listed as W2 MLSs of 4,000 square metres, whereas this particular proposal lists the majority as either V1 or V2. Indeed, the proposed Lot 9, which is an existing premises on Lot 361, will not meet the standard minimum lot topologies for the boundary clearances in the current proposal. And Lots 8 and 18 to 20 fall partially within the floodplain's limits. In also addressing what recreational opportunities are provided in the development, the 448 square metre public reserve is classified as an area with restricted use. This area is a floodplain, and unless significant remedial works are undertaken, it is marshland for most of the year and not a suitable land area for recreational purposes. The original Shirley DCP also proposed an off-road cycleway along the edges of the green space, which is not indicated in the proposal. Second point was to encourage and favour alternative modes of transport, firstly, such as cycling and walking, and then public transport routes within the precinct. There's been no cycleways or road cycleways, I beg your pardon, in this proposed design, or indeed walk or cycleways between residential blocks of the many residential areas or for access to the proposed green space and off-road cycleways. 18.6 and 19 metre street topologies are without cycleways and have constrained access for public transport vehicles. Indeed, the roadways such as the 15.5 metre carriageway are of a one-lane design, do not meet the criteria for any of the Shirley DCP Appendix B street topologies, including the encouraged public transport options, the location of the primary bus stop in the DCP development was adjacent to the Pines Lane gazetted roadway, which is a proposed significant link to the Forest Road, not the current design as it's shown. The third point that the DCP addressed was to protect steep, visually exposed and constrained lands, including various lot topologies, by conserving the site's existing landscape character. This was to include its scenic character and responding to site constraints, and included slope water movement and existing vegetation. The 369 Pinnacle Road lot itself has a contour plan that's failed to be recognised by the DCP, with a 10 metre fall over a very limited area shown for the proposed new road location. The existing residence built in 1999 was well prior to the DCP of 2014 and failed to be recognised in the design.
Mr. Effeling, can I just hold you up there? Can I have somebody extend? Yes, Councillor Mallard, second by Councillor Ruddy. Continue, please, sir.
Sorry. The future prospects of the development for owners or potential developers of one parcel of land or a lot should not negatively impact by the development of any adjacent developments in that area. The fourth point was the management of traffic flows by ensuring the more significant roads are not overburdened, including the safeguarding of future street links to Forest Road. So the proposed access in the new design or in the DA design has no link through. Pines Lane is the gazetted road with the eastern side of the Blackman Swamp already in place. Roadways such as the 15.5 metre carriageway, as I've already previously stated, are of a one-lane design and do not meet the criteria of any of the Shirley DCP street topologies. Council approvals are increasing within the populated areas of Southern Orange, with multiple subdivisions within the Shirley Road development area. Many of these are putting unnecessary transport, beg your pardon, without these, with these approvals, I beg your pardon, they are going ahead with much time without putting necessary transport infrastructure in place. Southern Distributor itself has no western direction for future prospect to deliver or extend increased traffic flow at this point in time. Access to the CBD from Shirley is effectively limited to the Anson Street exit, which may be considered a high density residential area with a major high school only 200 metres from the exit. There is an insufficiently and inadequate Pinnacle Road, which is in poor condition, has dangerous speed levels on it, a 2-lane overhead rail bridge access, which again leads into Racecourse Road, which has high congestion, particularly in relation to the new developments. Wentworth Avenue itself, Wentworth Golf Club, and the Oak Tree Village areas have all increased traffic flow on Canobbas Road, which again all flow into the one congested area. These converge into Woodward Road, which is basically the newly formed access to the Southern Distributor, which on any given day now has extremely high congestion, particularly at morning and afternoon times for Calais School areas, with poorly constructed railway crossings and immediately long delays in most afternoons and mornings during the weekdays because of the Calais Public School.
Stephen, your time's up. Would you like to quickly sum up?
Yes. Unfortunately, with time running out, you won't hear obviously all what I have to say, but it's my belief, in consideration of the time that I've actually lived in that area, that this particular proposed development is limited with its positive aspects, doesn't meet the overall Shirley DCP, and for the reasons outlined, or some of them that you've heard, should be currently rejected by Council in its current form. This will not negate the prospect of the developers reviewing their design to embrace the original concept and seek consultation with other property owners in the adjacent lots for potential future submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eflin. Councillors, the next speaker will be speaking on a previous item, which is Planning and Development Committee item 2.2, Development Application DA 578/2024 in brackets 1, lots 21, 23 and 25 Edward Street. And we have Mr. Paul Haig from Haig Truck and Four-Wheel Drive Repairs. Mr. Haig, would you like to come to the lectern, please, sir?
Mr. Mayor, councillors, council staff, thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns regarding the development of the western end of McNeely Avenue. My name is Paul Haig. I'm the owner of Haig Truck and Four-Wheel Drive Repairs, a small business comprising of just 5 employees, mainly focus on the repair and service of all heavy trucks, trailers and some four-wheel drives. This includes prime movers and trailers measuring 13.5 metres in length, as well as multi-axle cranes and their associated dollies. It is our concern that the proposed cul-de-sac at the western end of McNeely Avenue is not large enough to accommodate for both vehicle parking and the cul-de-sac and the turning of trucks and trailers entering the cul-de-sac, including and especially B-doubles. While the 25 metre diameter is the minimum required, we believe a 35 to 40 metre diameter would allow both parking and the ease of turning of 19 metre B-double trucks and trailers. We would also like Council to greatly consider the widening of McNeely Avenue from its existing curb and gutter south to allow 45-degree rear to curb parking for vehicles up to 6 metres in length. We believe, with a rough estimate, including the driveways provided for the proposed developments, this would allow 15 to 18 car spaces, assisting the need for employee and customer parking for both my businesses, along with on-track ag and the proposed businesses in the new development. This would also greatly improve semi-trailer access to our workshop and yard and the proposed businesses in the development. Development is currently in its current form would severely restrict access and the viability of our business. Ask Council to consider the amount of land available and that our proposed adjustments are minor and very achievable. I'd like to thank Council staff and the councillors who have taken the time to visit and discuss this matter with us.
Thank you, Mr. Haig. Councillor Duffy.
You're probably more aware of the situation. You're probably more aware of what the situation was when the sale yards were out there, and the parking that was there was right over towards the bank where the concrete slab is there on the side.
Up against the rail corridor.
Yeah, up against the rails when the cattle yards were. That, to me, I'm a bit surprised that council even didn't include that. I mean, I accept the fact that those trees have to go. But in its current form, an A double or whatever, a semi-trailer or whatever, if there's adjustment there, that won't allow people to reverse into your business. Was that correct?
Not in the current form of the.
Not in the current format. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, just being a industrial area, you envisage of businesses going out there. You don't envisage like dress shops or anything like that. You're going to invest. They're going to be industry, aren't they? Where they're going to be heavy vehicles such as mining companies or whatever the case may be.
Well, given the size of the blocks, we would expect large businesses for either mining, construction, and or warehousing, considering the size of those blocks, and all those businesses would require access. And especially if it's a large warehouse or a large construction, mining, maintenance buildings would require access of B-double vehicles.
As well. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions to Mr. Haig before he sits down? Being none. Thank you. The council meeting will now resume. Mirror minutes, item 2.1. There are no mirror minutes. Number 3.1 minutes of the ordinary meeting held at Orange City Council on the 15th April 2025. Can I have somebody move? Moved by Councillor Greenwood, second by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion? Show of hands for. Unanimous. Policy committees. The council will now adjourn for the conduct of the policy meetings, and I'll hand over to Councillor McDonald for the Planning Development Policy Committee.
Mr. Hodges.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. I'll open up the Planning and Development Policy Committee meeting with the time being 7:03 p.m. We've got a couple of declarations in item 2.3 and 2.4 for Councillor Kinghorn. Was there any other interests anyone else has?
Yes, sorry. The Seaburn Drive, Molong Road, it's right near my house, but...
That's closed.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, all good. Alrighty. Item 2.1, items approved under the delegated authority of council. Recommendations on page 5. Thank you, Councillor Whitten.
Move the recommendation, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Power. Is there any discussion? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Rosie. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item 2.2. Development application DA 578/2024 in brackets 1, lots 21, 23 and 24 Edward Street. Now there's a recommendation on page 12. I actually would like to propose a slight change to the conditions that Director Hodges is aware of, but I will go through. This is predominantly, if councillors want to look at page 46, This is to do with condition 23, which currently says a minimum of 4 containerised trees in 200-litre containers should be planted along the McNeely Avenue frontage. A minimum of 30 containerised street trees in 100-litre containers should be planted along the Edward Street frontage at centres of 8 metres. Species of all trees shall be determined by manager of city presentation. I'm just proposing that we add in there, and in accordance with the urban forest strategy that previous council adopted, and that it also includes replacement planting of trees along the western boundary of Lot 11, where it meets Lot 8 and Lot 9, to replace the corridor of trees that sits within those lots, because no doubt they will get lost. And so it's to replace those with trees of the same or similar species at a replacement ratio of 2:1, and minimum of 8 100-litre containerised trees planted along the southern edge of lots 10 and 11, basically to screen that area, Grabban Way. Got the trees planted on the land. It's just so that's my proposal. Councillor Mellor.
Can I, you Chair, to the Director, point of clarification, and please excuse my ignorance if I'm wrong here. There's a lot of talk about B doubles in Edward Street. My understanding is they weren't permitted to drive up Edward Street.
Mr. Director? Director Greenham. Councillor Duffy.
The reason I ask you the question is because the turning lane turning circle is considerably more for a B double than what it is a normal semi-trailer.
Absolutely. Edward Street is not a B double route, and therefore by virtue of McNeely Avenue accessing off Edward Street, McNeely Avenue is not a B double route.
Thank you. Whilst I've got you there then, so that being the case, are you able to explain to me what the difference is in the road width at Narambla Industrial Estate compared to that in Edward Street? And what would the difference in the size of the vehicles which should be using both those roads? Is there any different size?
I believe in the Narambla Industrial Estate they are allowed to have B doubles through there, and most of there's a number of cul-de-sacs. The minimum cul-de-sac diameter within our industrial estates is 12.5 metres, so that the trucks can get around. 12.5 metre radius, which is a 25 metre diameter.
And so the difference Director, the difference in the width of the roads in Narambla compared to Edward Street is what? I thought they were the same.
The difference is which, sorry?
What is the difference in the width of the roads at Narambla where they're able to take a B double compared to that in Edward Street where they can't?
13 metres curb to curb, and it's the same in McNeely Avenue, 13 metres curb to curb. I've just been shown a correction. The B double route is existing down through McNeely Avenue through there, so accessing via Grabban Way.
But not Edward Street?
Not the very first start of Edward Street, but the southern end of Edward Street, not the northern end onto the highway.
Thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I'd like to move an amendment. The amendment is to council to further DA 202551 for council to accommodate the concerns of the businesses and the proposed tree plantations.
Do we have a seconder, considering we have already deferred this once? Any discussion? Councillor Ruddy.
Through you to the director. So a lot of things that just came up in the gentleman that was speaking were asking for additional parking. There was something about wider roads for 45-degree parking, a wider turning circle. Are those things possible? Like, we can ask for lots of things, but like, can they be done?
There were a number of councillors that did attend the site with me for the council, like after it was deferred last time round. We had a look at the site in that area. Essentially, you can do anything through there, but you lose on the land that you're developing. So it means taking away from the land that you're developing. So
there was some.
There's no industrial road in any of the other estates that have 45-degree parking adjacent to them. That's more in line with a commercial area rather than an industrial area. Most industrial areas have parallel parking either side.
Is there provision anywhere to allow for some parking? If it wasn't on the road, is there somewhere that some type of parking could be provided?
It hasn't been identified, and I haven't seen, because there's a concept design at the moment. There's no detailed design as yet, so those details need to be sorted out following the conditions that are imposed by council. So if council chooses to propose a parking lot as part of the condition, then that will be investigated.
I think some of the concerns I was hearing were around lack of parking, an inability for people that need to access that space to be able to access that space, which I think sounds like it could potentially kill the area or kill the businesses that are there. And I didn't make the on-site thing due to children, but that's what I'm hearing, is that these businesses are really concerned that their businesses might be killed if don't have the ability to access them the way they need to.
If I can draw an analogy for a commercial area in town, you have a business in town, a commercial business in town, don't generally allow your workers to park directly outside of your business, and so they may have to walk a couple of blocks from an all-day parking area or from a roadside parking area that allows them to park all day to come into their business.
Somewhere out there? I'm not super familiar with the area. Do those staff have somewhere to park a couple of blocks away?
Within a couple of blocks, yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Director, from what I understand from the site visit we had, staff are actually currently parking on one of the vacant lots. Have been for some time.
Yeah.
That's where they've been parking.
Right.
That's where they've been.
On the land that's going to be sold. And Director, those EOIs for expressions of interest for those blocks were also open to the nearby businesses?
Yes, the expressions of interest for lands in this estate were all persons that would want to make a submission.
Councillor Judge, you had your hand up a little bit. Okay, Councillor Greenhouse.
So I'm just going to speak for the amendment to defer. I think we've got an opportunity here to continue to support business in an area, and I think we should be future-proofing that land if we want to attract the right businesses to it. We need to future-proof it. We need to provide access. We need to provide parking. We've got a stadium that's not going to be too far from there. There's going to be a lot of buses that are going to be there at some point for big events. They're going to need somewhere to park as well. So I think we need to be really careful and to take away the opportunity for two well-established businesses in our community to potentially not be able to operate their business efficiently with access for trucks to get in is just crazy. We should be encouraging business in our community and not trying to stop it.
I'm actually going to speak against the amendment. We have already deferred this, and for this exactly the same reason. So the last 6 weeks was the time for people who had these concerns, which were raised. They're exactly the same concerns that were raised at the last time this came up. Time was then for councillors to take up the opportunity, which was made to all of us, have site visits and to push for this change, and nothing has been done. So, I mean, there's only so many times we can defer it. Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm comfortable with supporting the amendment with a condition on it, and that is what I am concerned about is the cost to realign that road, and I'm assuming from my past experience that it would be in the vicinity maybe to $100,000 to $200,000, but I don't see any evidence of what that would cost and how that's. And whilst it is a consideration, I'm just wondering what the cost to widen those areas is going to be. Is it possible to produce some type of report so we know where we are financially? But that's not to suggest that there isn't grant funding available to undertake those works, should we choose to go that way.
Brenham, did you want to comment?
We can certainly bring a report back to council if that's what you choose. It's not just, and this is what I explained to the councillors that came to the site visit, was it's not just the cost of the facility you're building, it's the opportunity cost with the loss of the land that you're building on. So you actually need to widen the road reserves to allow for the 45-degree parking and what have you.
And would that information
and it may
be
not even
included in
be
the report?
appropriate to put 45-degree parking on the opposite side of those businesses. It probably should constrain the businesses themselves and have it on their side of the road, if that's what they're proposing.
Are you able to provide that information that I've asked for? Costings?
Costings, I can generally, if I can ask Mark, what's our provision fees? Is it around $9,000 or $13,000 or something in that order? Per park?
Contribution plan.
Thank you.
3,100,
So,
but this would be beyond catchment area for parking contributions. It's more about, I think Mr. Mayor's asked about what on costings of a design would.
Yes.
The recommendation is that the roads are compliant. So matter of fact.
I'm satisfied, thank you.
Councillor Whitten's next, and then Councillor Ruddy. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking in support of the amendment. This is an opportunity for council, and the director has mentioned, this is our land, this is council land. So we have an opportunity to work with those businesses that are in that vicinity. Those businesses have been there a long, long time. And we need to be able to do things in council that is working collaboratively with businesses in Orange. And because it's our decision in council here tonight, we have the ability to review this and to work with those businesses to make it a collaborative outcome that suits them and suits us. It's our land. It's not somebody else's land. It's our land. So the land has to be developed anyway. It'll come under we come under the same rules as Section 94. So we can widen those roads. We can take parcels of land for car parks. And we get a good outcome. We get an outcome that isn't putting existing businesses that employ people in this city and provide services to the community for many, many years, to get an outcome that is not contentious, an outcome that is acceptable to the community and to those businesses. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Whitten. Councillor Ruddy.
Thank you. Really quickly, so I'm going to speak for the amendment. I think we probably owe it to the business owners, that they're long-term business owners, to at least explore widening that. I realised that we did this 6 weeks ago. But, you know, we hear different things when people speak and new things come up. And I realised that there would probably be a cost that comes with reducing the size of those blocks. But if the appropriate vehicles can't access that area, are those blocks just going to sit there rather than be utilised the way they should because the roads are big enough for mining vehicles, etc., to access those spaces? So that's where my head's at for moving with the amendment.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, thank you. I did go to the site visit and saw where all the cars from the businesses were parked, which was on a separate block. And I'm quite confused now because I thought it looked like they did have on-site parking, which is why I asked that question when we were there, because it did look like they could have just fitted it on their own lots. So now I'm lost. I'm happy to have another look because I was obviously looking at it with a different eye then, because I thought, why can't you just park on your own block? Because it did look to me like there was plenty of room. So I now need to go back out there and have another look because maybe I saw it wrongly. I don't know. As I said, I'm just a bit confused about it now.
Thank you, Councillor. I've just got one question to the Director, and I'm hoping you can answer it now. Or maybe Stone. In the subdivision code, so we've been talking about the 25 metre diameter, but that's not for B doubles, is that correct?
It will certainly allow B double, yes.
It will allow B double,
yeah.
but it will not allow B double with parking on the street, is that?
That's correct.
Right, okay. What would allow B double with parking on a street?
I think we've got some other examples that are 30 metres in diameter, 15 metre radius.
Essentially, what some of the
would allow a
what
2.5 metre truck to park on the side. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Judge.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I've just got two questions for Mr. Greenham. Two speakers spoke earlier, said that they weren't consulted by the engineers and that before the proposal went through. Is that correct, or?
Could quite well have. It wasn't my division that actually did the design work. We did do some early consultation, and we had some, and I think they actually mentioned they went to some of those early consultations. So that's the time when they were consulted with. So I don't quite get where they weren't consulted.
And the second one is, I know you said the staff, a lot of business staff can't park at the front of their business, but this is not just staff, this is customer parking as well. Where do you expect the customers to park?
On their side of the road. At the time
under
when
the current plan?
Yeah, and under the current plan. When councillors visited the site, there was adequate parking for customers to come in there. It wasn't like it was a jammed up street with everyone parked on both sides of the road. There was plenty of room for anyone to park there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're there though, if there was, that was right, so it was quite a clear cul-de-sac. If there was a truck trying to turn and there had been cars parked there though, that can potentially be a different story. That seems to be the essence of what's going on here, is the risk of not being able to park and have the trucks. There were no trucks there on that day either, so there looked like a lot of room, but it's a bit different if you had put cars all up the side there and tried to turn a truck around.
Generally, I would imagine most of the B double trucks that are accessing that area are actually driving into the businesses, not turning around on the street as such.
Okay, all right, and they can do that because there was that long
Absolutely.
driveway. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, this is our land, as Councillor Whitten pointed out, and we have an opportunity to have a win-win situation. The situation is that one of the things that we as a council tell developers, they come in here all the time, we say, hey, consult with your neighbours. When we had the Hill Street, consult with your neighbours, and that didn't happen. We had the situation with the Street Cafe, and asked them to consult with their neighbours, and they finally did, and they resolved the issue. This is a great opportunity for this there. I don't want to see the situation where we force these two businesses to go or have to move. Traditionally, they've been there for a long time. Traditionally, they've been there probably when the sale yards were actually there. There was trucks parked down the bottom. The traffic for the sheep yards was over the other side, up alongside where the building was for the where the agents had breakfast or whatever the case may have been. I want to go back to the actual size of your vehicles. Size of your vehicles, A doubles are allowed down there.
So are B doubles. Sorry, I was corrected.
They're down the street. Yeah, they're allowed there. They are big vehicles. Camp it up the way it is there now, they're not going to be able to go down there and park down there and turn into the business. And look into the future. As I said, you look to the future. What are you going to do with those blocks? Who are you going to sell it to? other businesses that come there, which may be for the same transport or maybe for mechanical repairs of heavy vehicles, whatever the case may be. The important thing is, to me, is that let's give them the opportunity. We've been through situations here where we've cost people their businesses and those type of things and affected their businesses. We've been told here tonight that is what exactly is going to happen to their businesses. They're going to lose it. You've got 15 car parks. One said he's not normally there. The other chap said he has 5. Where are they going to park when you cramp the street up? You're going to park along the sides, and is it B double or the A? Yeah, and park there? No. This is the opportunity to us to move the, cut a bit of land off the proposed lots, those 3 lots that go along the edge there, and make it wide enough and make it more enticing for someone else to actually buy and have a business, a bigger business there, which is suitable for an industrial area. And that's what it is. It's not a narrow street where you're going to have a dress shop or a lollipop shop. I mean, let's stick to and let's work with our business houses. I just can't believe it that we let this go without any really good consultation.
Councillor Duffy, can I just have you please clarify what your amendment is in full?
My amendment is quite simple. It says the council defer the DA 2025/651 for council to accommodate the concerns of the current businesses and the proposed tree linings for the streets. I know the big trees have to go out there. Maybe we need to move the road further over to where the old cattle yards were, where it used to be, because that's where the people. So that includes all the blocks.
Okay, so just to clarify, the Mayor asked for a report. Are you happy to incorporate that into your amendment?
Happy to incorporate
a report on costings for redesign?
That's what I mean in the least. I think the most important thing is here we look after those businesses. They've been there for a long time. They employ a lot of people.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duffy. All right, any other discussion on the amendment? All right, in that case, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? All right, amendment becomes the motion. All those in favour of the motion? All right, thank you. Unanimous. Okay, item 2.3, and Councillor Kinghorn is going to duck outside. Okay, so we've got item 2.3, which is development application DA 669/24 in brackets 1, 357 and 361 Pinnacle Road. Recommendation is on page 84. Now, I'm actually going to that we defer this for a site visit. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I also would like to just quickly ask Director Hodges to make a comment on, because I note when we get these DAs in, it's like have this value of proposed development. Now, I looked at this and went $20,000. There's no way on God's green earth that development's value is worth $20,000. So can you just sort of, I don't know, explain how, why and where to?
Thank you, Chair. It doesn't really change too much for us in terms of our mostly our application fees or the capital investment value. So it is important around construction. When it comes to subdivision historically that haven't really had a value, you'll actually see, say, for example, in the delegated authority report list earlier in the business paper, row value. Not sure what the $20,000 relates to, less than the application preparation fee, I'd say. So it's not really reflected. We're currently looking at that, though, Chair, to more reflect what capital investment is in Orange and the confidence in the Orange economy for development. I think going forward we'll probably put a value on them, but it's still a substantial capital investment for a development of this scale.
Councillor Peterson.
The other question I had to Director Hodges, just on page 83, the alternate access to Pinnacle Road proposed. It can be a busy road and 22 new residents will have an impact. Wanted to know what the original access was.
Chair, what the alternative is just bringing the road access into this this area in the master plan for Shirley was quite a difficult area to always going to depend on. Component in this case of the two blocks have right. Hasn't really changed too much. It brings it back closer to where the zone is for the city anyway. So engineers have, and we're happy with the outcomes for the safety and traffic movement.
All right. I'll put the motion that we defer this. Motion. I don't know. I'm trying to catch up. Thank you. So the motion is to defer this for a site visit. Favour? Unanimous. Councillor Kinghorn, I think, is still out for the next one, which is item 2.4. Development application DA 770-2024 brackets 1, 12 Shirley Road. Recommendation is on 219.
There's a recommendation.
Second it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Is there any discussion? Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, just wanted to acknowledge that the developers are amending this development to basically give up a bit of an outcome that removes less native vegetation, and I think it's commendable.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Any other discussion? Not conversation, discussion. Right, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Alrighty, that, councillors, concludes the Planning and Development Policy Committee with the time being 7:32, and I shall call on Mallard for the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor McDonnell. I'd like to open the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting on the 6th of May 2025 with the time being 7:33 p.m. Item 1.1, declarations of interest. There weren't any interest declared earlier. Has anyone encountered any they feel the need to declare now? There being none, we'll move to item 2.1, minutes of the Environmental Sustainability Community Committee meeting 4th of April 2025. Recommendation on page 5. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Councillor McDonnell. Councillor Ruddy. Is there any discussion on this item? Being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Move to item 2.2, minutes of the Companion Animals Community Committee meeting of the 10th of April 2025. Recommendation on page 29. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Power and Councillor Greenhalgh. Is there any discussion on this item? I just wanted to note slight correction on page 31 in our papers in the minutes. Item 3.2, the second part of the recommendation there should be that Councillor Mallard will discuss with the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee, not Community Committee. And to go to that point, the Companion Animals Community Committee, as it notes in the minutes there at the moment, I was the only councillor appointed to that committee when we determined allocations to the committee. That does raise concern that, for starters, if I'm not able to attend a committee meeting for any reason, then the committee meeting won't be able to go ahead. I think it's fair to say as well that the committee members were concerned, given the significance of companion animal issues. We have had discussion in this term of council and in the last term of council repeatedly about key issues relating to the level of demand on the pound and on animal rehoming services, on the crisis levels that we're basically reaching in those areas, as well as the impact of cats and issues around the management of cats, which is subject of a parliamentary inquiry at the moment. I think the committee were hoping that there might be some possibility that a councillor might be willing to put their hand up to take a role in that committee. I will leave it there. If anyone wants to address that as a matter arising, they would be able to. Any other discussion on that item? Councillor McDonald?
Just following up on what you just said, I would put my hand up, but I'm already on 100,000 committees anyway. I would suggest that the councillors who are on only one or none of the committees would probably put their hand up for it. But I also do know that Councillor Duffy is very passionate about cats and the control of cats. So perhaps Councillor Duffy would like to put his hand up for it as well.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Sorry, Councillor Duffy.
Only good cat's a dead one, especially if it's not looked after. Mind them being companion animals.
If Councillor
Councillor
Duffy's not prepared to put his hand up, then I'll put my hand up for that. Someone needs to do it. So
Butler said they need to be flat.
All right.
I'm not sure that's relevant, but anyway.
I just checked procedurally. Do we need a motion, or Yep, we're just going to minute that. Thank you, Councillor Ruddy. Appreciate it. Any further discussion on these minutes? There being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting, with the time being 7:37 p.m. Call on Councillor Peterson to conduct the Finance Policy Committee.
All right, thank you, Councillor Mallard. I would like to open the Finance Policy Committee meeting on the 6th of May 2025, time being 19:38. For items 1.1, the Declaration of Interest, I recorded that in item 2.1.2, Councillor Ruddy declared a non-significant interest and will stay in the room, and 2.1.3, Councillor Mallard and Power will leave the room and Councillor McDonald will remain in the room. Any other conflicts to declare? Very well. Well, moving on to item 2.1, small donations, request for donations. There's a recommendation on page 6. Part 1 recommends that the items be heard and voted on in seriatim. Do I have a mover with Councillor Ruddy, seconded by Councillor Mallard? I'll put the motion. All for? Any against? No. We'll deal with the items in part 2 separately. The first one being item 2.1.1 essentially, to donate $2,500 to the Orange Regional Malay Association, Orange Malay Community, to contribute to the cost of the non-ticketed South Indian Festival called Onam. I have a move by Councillor Ruddy, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Is there any discussion on the item?
Councillor Ruddy.
Oh, thank you, Councillor.
That's okay. Question. All for this, but wondering, there is a note that the event is in the next financial year, and given we have very little money left in this financial year, will it impact the going ahead of the festival significantly if we were to hold off until, say, July to put that through?
Please, yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair. There is $17,000 left in the account if you were to go forward with all of the donations today. Given that we've actually only got one more meeting, being the first meeting in June, that we would bring forward, that's potentially enough. And if we were to defer, you can ask me to defer this into next financial years, but that then limits next financial year, and we actually already start off behind the 8 ball. So I would suggest that, or recommend that we financial year, and if there were something next month in the 3rd of June, how we would redistribute it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, thank you. Just on that note, though, complies with policy, yes. This event is due to occur next financial year and therefore does comply with policy if it's funded next financial year. We've had a lot of discussion in recent weeks about things complying with policy. So if it's funded this financial year for next year, does that not comply with the policy? Is that what that means?
If you were to interpret it that way, the policy talks about only being funded once a financial year, and yes, that would mean that they would have 2 fundings in this financial year, but 1 event in each. They put something up in the next.
Okay.
In the end of the FY25 year.
I noticed, Director Sharp, that $2,500 is requested for the event, and one of the expenses being the cost of hiring the Orange Function Centre at $2,500. I wanted to know if there was any merit of just waiving the hire fee, or it doesn't really matter either way.
We could do that, and that would have no change to the accounting transaction. It would just be an administrative. Paying it to ourselves, we would be doing a journal. So the cost to council is the same. The reason behind that is the cost to hire the function centre is an actual real cost. There are labour costs. That number is not a profitable amount. That's an amount.
I have any more discussion?
Can I just clarify that? So if we were to waive that, we would be out of pocket the $2,500 anyway. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Out of a different pool of money?
Same pool of money.
Same pool of money, okay, cool.
If there's no further discussion, I will put the motion. All for? Any against? That carried. Thank you. So item 2.2, which is to donate $2,500 to the Orange Theatre Company to contribute to the cost of theatre rentals, self-building, costuming, and using a proportion of funds to invite VIPs to attend the opening night. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion on this item? The only discussion I would have is that I was hoping, in addition, we could offer some advertising through our social media and similar of the event, as we often do.
My only comment on that one is that we quite regularly talk about, can we promote this on our social media streams? Our social media streams are quite popular, like they have a good following. And we have a team of dedicated experts who are trained in marketing who curate that list of how we're putting things out in. If we were to say yes, and I instructed to in some social media for this event, we didn't just do that for the previous event, and may not do it for the other 3 events, 4 events, 5 events that we're going to talk about in this. If we were to say we're going to do for all of them, then we become rather than a communication stream, which we are very careful about what we put forward, how often, because as those who are familiar, the AI calculations in those are quite tricky and quite delicate. So with respect, I would ask that we
Councillor Ruddy.
On that, through you, Chair, rather than posting on the grid as such. Could stories just be shared when OTC is posting things on their grid? Could it just be shared to the stories for?
It is the same situation because the Mali Association will have things on there.
Okay, yeah.
Promotions, and so will Koori Kids ask us and tag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Chair. Probably through you to the Director as well. There's nothing to stop those of us councillors that have social media presence, though, from sharing it in our own.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, with no further discussion, I will put the motion. All for? Any against? Carried. Thank you. So 2.3 then, we to donate $2,000 to Orange Together to contribute to the cost of screening films and travel expenses related to the Orange event for National Reconciliation Week. And I note Councillor Mallard and Power have left the room. Do I have a mover for this? Put Councillor Ruddy and seconded by Councillor Steadman. Any discussion on this item? Thank you. I'll put the motion then. All for? Any against? Yeah, the motion carried. Thank you for those two colleagues of ours back. Well, 1.4 is to donate $2,500 to the National Rural Health Student Network, NRHSN, to contribute to the cost of travel and accommodation for volunteers for an event to be held in Orange. I have a mover by Councillor Greenhalgh, second by Councillor Ruddy. Any discussion on this item? Yes, Councillor Power.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I just got a few concerns about this one here. Due to it states that to contribute to cost of travel and accommodation of volunteers for an event to be held in Orange. And then the footnotes of the application, I don't know, my bit pedantic, but when I read it, I couldn't quite get the grips of. I understand it's a great initiative for the health side of it. As soon as I get it here, 1 minute, sir. Sorry. Yeah, it's just when I was reading it, it really comes down to the first question: what will this donation be used for? Okay, fantastic. It has all the outlines of that in relation to First Nation health, trainees, all the rest, and given a platform. But then it goes down to the benefits to Orange, and then the paragraph at the base says that this workforce will be enhanced, I think, but then it says the program will encourage young people to stay engaged with education, yeah, but then it goes down to the actual components of it. It doesn't really, how does it benefit Orange by paying these volunteers into Orange for this event? I just didn't get the grips of that.
And I might
in relation to how this money is going to be utilised, because then it says in the verse, what will the donation be used for? And it says here the grant will be useful for addressing the cost of barriers, yes, but including accommodation and travel, with some participants travelling interstate to deliver the program.
Yeah, no,
I just had a few questions about that.
Just to echo what Councillor Power was saying, I had a question I said earlier. Yeah, is this a workshop for local Indigenous primary and secondary students Or is this a meeting of executive members that just happens to be held in Orange?
Question, Councillor. I think I had a similar sort of feeling in reading through the application, and I rang the applicant and spoke with her in presumption that they would be able to have come from the floor. The event is to bring some expert people of executive who have experience in this Orange to educate some young Indigenous about their potential. So the cost is for bringing those experts who are already experienced to Orange to educate our Orange youth who may be looking into a professional career in health. From their perspective is very valuable in the more.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, that brings a little more clarity to the actual whole application on that. It was a bit confusing because it spoke about the volunteers being brought in. That was a bit of a challenge to my mind.
Councillor Duffy.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to support this 100%. Number one, because we are, whether we like it or not, we are a centre of excellence for health right throughout this region. So it doesn't matter what type of illness there is, we are the centre of excellence, and any improvement that we can give to our centre and encourage people to come here for health reasons, I think it's fantastic.
Councillor Amgadi.
Can I just ask through you, and you might not know this, which youth, like are they targeting school kids? Is it senior kids at school? I'm asking the Director, Councillor Duffy. There's obviously a targeted audience, but like where are
my
they?
understanding, and I may need to go and clarify it if you require me to, but my understanding is late high school and those who have already elected to attend university, they may be in their gap year or they may have started.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, well, Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, just to say thank you for the clarification, Director, and thanks to those who asked those questions to get us clarification. Yeah, I'm very happy to support it. Then it sounds like a great way to encourage young local Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students to consider going into a healthcare career. Thanks.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I will put the motion. All for? Any against? I will declare that is carried. Moves us to 2.1.5. To donate $500 to Koori Kids to contribute to the design, painting, distribution of information packs to schools across Orange. Moved by Councillor Power. Councillor McDonald, do I have any discussion on this item? Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's probably only an observation, but my understanding is this come back through the NAIDOC committee. Was it discussed there? It's a Department of Education initiative, though, isn't it? Both state and federal.
I believe it was discussed at the NAIDOC committee last year, and the approach that they've taken this year is slightly different and asking for a financial contribution had been considered by the NAIDOC.
And it's sponsored by the state and federal government, is my understanding?
That is correct, that the state and federal government have provided some support as well.
So it's just an observation. Why wouldn't the committee have got the extra $500? I know it's only $500, but I just would have thought, being education, that they would have allowed for that, because my understanding is for printing and dissemination of material.
My understanding is there's a number of local government areas.
Thank you.
Councillor Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As what most people know, I've been part of NAIDOC for 20 years and 10 years as the chair. When I first saw this as application, I actually spoke to the director in relation to that, because this is the first time, because every year those those amazing packs are put out to the school. This is the first time they've ever come to Orange City Council. And my first question to the director was, have we received anything like that? Because I don't ever remember, I think. But as a NAIDOC committee chair and the Indigenous community that sit on that NAIDOC community each year, each year we see the amazing artwork that come in. And for $500, I just thought, that's very cheap for the amount of schools. Now, this will go not only to the private schools, but to all of the religious schools and the public schools in the primary side of it. So to see that there is the first time I've ever saw anything that come up with the Koori kids, and it's a great initiative for Orange. We've always had it, and for $500 for the first time, I totally support this initiative as the chair for the last 10 years and seeing this here, because it does inspire, encourage, because this year is quite, the NAIDOC theme is very important because it's about our young people this time. So for $500 for our Koori kids, I find that Orange City Council would go well towards actually achieving that theme of the Orange Australia NAIDOC theme for 2025. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Duffy.
I share the same concerns as the Mayor as regards to this one here. I think the intent is fantastic. I think probably the results will be fantastic. I don't have a problem with the amount of money, whether we go with it or whether we go against it. To me, it's a thing. I mean, yeah.
Further discussion? Well, given that, I will put the motion. All for? Against? Good. Right, I'm going to move to 2.2, the application for event sponsorship. Recommendation on page 39 and part 1 recommending that items be heard and voted on in seriatim. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Donald and Councillor Ruddy. The motion, all for? Any against? Carried, thank you. So dealing with items in part 2 separately. Part 2A, improve the application for the Freestyle Kings Orange Show. B, that $10,000 in funds be paid from the identified budgets in 2025 financial year. And C, that the site hire and other ancillary costs as determined appropriate by staff be covered through an in-kind contribution under the Event Development Program ST43. I have a mover. Moved by Councillor Ruddy. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion on this item?
Thank you, Chair. Probably more of a logistical question, really, in terms of the event itself. I haven't been to one of these before, but I'm guessing using Wade Park there, what's the requirement to fix any damage to the surface of Wade Park if they're using the... Okay, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The event organisers are...
Thank you.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. I'm a bit concerned about this because we're now putting more money in for something that's happening next year, and then it puts pressure on the budget from next year. And I know we've been able to find a bit somewhere. I think I found that actually a bit confusing, all the stuff in here. So I had thought this time I'm just going to be really tough and just not. If we've used the money, then too bad. Sorry. So I'm not going to support anything that's going to take us over the budget. So they can apply next year, maybe.
Councillor Ruddy.
Through you to one of the directors, this is for an in-kind donation for Wade Park, correct?
There is, through you, Mr. Chair, there are two parts to this one. The first part is for a $10,000 fee that would be paid, which we will, we're proposing that we would take that through other funds that we can transfer this financial year, although the event does occur next financial year. The separate part, which is C, that's in there, and that would fall in next financial year, and therefore we wouldn't know the cost, so that would need to
And would
So
that
they-
come back to us then, or?
We would donate the use of that area.
Okay. Okay.
Councillor Greenhow.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the recommendation. I think, you know, as a community, anything we can do for our community and surrounding areas to bring people into our community is a great thing. Not have to travel and have that expense to go down and see a performance of this nature. You know, I think it benefits our community. We're building a whole new health. You know, we've got a health precinct out there. We've got the sports precinct out there. You know, we're trying to attract people to our town. And the more people we can get here before all that's finished, the better opportunity we've got for them to come out again and go, you know what, it's pretty nice out here. Let's revisit. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. I will speak actually for an amendment. I figured that $10,000 plus an additional $5,000 in kind is quite a fair amount of money, and it's actually that sum has only been given to a few events when you look at it. So my amendment is that we offer as much as we offered Orange Food Week, $5,000, being it's more proportional and would better affect the situation. The budget is indeed exhausted. I have a seconder for that amendment. So Councillor Kinghorn has seconded. Any further discussion? Given that, I will put the amendment. Any for the amendment? Any against the amendment? Amendment is lost. Any further discussion on the original motion? Councillor Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to support the recommendation. I agree with the Deputy Mayor that when you look at the ratio of the people who are expected to attend it, the money which it's going to bring into the economy, we're talking about day visitors 2,800, potentially 4,000 locals, overnight visitors 1,200. I think that economy, especially the hospitality, will benefit greatly from an event like this, especially during a quiet time of the year. I think that if we can help stimulate the economy, whilst I agree with Councillor Kinghorn that we shouldn't be carrying things over, I think due to the size and the potential income that this event will generate is the reason why I'm prepared to go outside something which I would normally not do. So yes, I'll be supporting the recommendation.
Absolutely.
Just really quickly, one last thing so we can kind of get on with it. I've just checked the date, and this will actually fall on Easter Saturday next year, which is smack in the middle of school holidays. So I think that it would be quite a busy event. Lots of people will be travelling. It'll bring some people to Orange, and they have the time to do it because it's school holidays. So, yeah.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Chair. I too support this. This particular event has a global following, so as the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor have suggested, and the time of the year that it's on, it's certainly going to be a sellout because people will come from all over, potentially Australia, to attend this because they do have a global following. Yeah, massive.
All right, well, thank you. I will put the motion. All for? Any against? I'll declare the motion carried. Moves into item 3. 3A, that the event sponsorship application from the Council New South Wales for the Stars of Orange event be refused. 3B, that the details in the application form be used to consider under the donation and grants program. C, that the council waive clauses 4.1, 4.5 and 4.7, the strategic policy ST32, donations and grants. 3D, that the Council New South Wales be given a donation of $2,500 towards the Stars of Orange event.
I just a clarification before we move it. Can I just ask the director why it didn't meet the original application?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The original application came in for an economic development sponsorship. So similar to the one above, it's about bringing people to our town as an economic event. And although it is a wonderful event, and I watched it on live stream, and I'm sure many people were either here or watched it on live stream themselves, it is very much a local event. And so its numbers of attracting, and the numbers are in the paper, didn't meet the threshold to meet. It fits more in the donations part, which is why we then, rather than asking for them to resubmit on a separate form, we just took the liberty of moving it across on their behalf, knowing that we had enough information from them.
And they've been advised of that?
So.
Thank you.
Before I ask for a motion, mover, Councillor Duffy.
My motion is, Mr Chairman, that I'd like to say that we, the event sponsorship application with the Council of New South Wales for Stars of Orange event of $10,000 be approved. And if I can get a seconder, I'll tell you why.
Right, we have seconded by Councillor Judge. So, any further discussion?
Do I have a second?
Yep, yeah, Councillor Judge.
Yeah. The reason being is that if you look at the event the other night, this is the heart and soul of our city. We're as I said before, we're a regional excellence of health, and if you look at the event that held at Emeco Hall the other night, it was absolutely fantastic. They raised a lot of money. I can't see why we cannot be backing our citizens that go out of their way to enjoy their night and raise a lot of money for things that are going to affect all of us one day, and if not, have affected us already.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks. I'll move an amendment which is to effectively reinstate the original recommended resolution that we refuse it as an event sponsorship, but the following proceedings we give the funds as a donation. And
I'll second that.
just to speak to that, we just heard from the director. It's not an event that fits under the event sponsorship. We're still happy to fund it. Completely recognise the significance of the event and everything it achieves in raising funds and providing entertainment, but it doesn't bring. It's not a tourist attraction element. I appreciate the way the staff worked through it completely appropriately. Again, we've talked about compliance and non-compliance with policy. I think we found a really sensible way to deal with it. We didn't require them to do additional work. We just found a way that if we make some sensible exemptions, we can accommodate the fact that we absolutely want to support this event. We will do it as a donation rather than an event sponsorship. Thanks.
Clarify that your amendment would be the original sort of 3D fund of $2,500. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Look, yeah, I obviously support the amendment, which is the original recommendation. But as has been said, staff have done a great job here in taking the initiative, and it's not us saying we don't support it. We are supporting it by donating $2,500. But again, which some councillors seem to not get, if it doesn't comply with policy, we don't do it. So I think it just makes sense to show that we do support and that we are working with the organisation to actually get them some support as well, so that they see that we're working with them. But to blanketly go, well, it doesn't comply, but who gives a rat's, is kind of irresponsible.
Councillor Greenhow.
Thank you, through you, Mr Chair. I'm really confused because now we're going, well, let's just make it work for these guys, but we couldn't just make it work a couple of weeks ago to give any money to the Royal Flying Doctor Service. I'm happy to support the sponsorship, but I'm really confused now. Could have changed it to be a donation just like we're doing now.
Councillor Power.
No.
I'm sorry. I'd like to, because had one amendment then followed by another amendment, which was reinstating the original motion. And I think, just for clarity, we should probably have a vote on the first amendment, which was Councillor Duffy's essentially awarding $10,000 to it, seconded by Councillor.
That was the motion.
It's not an amendment.
That was the motion and then the amendment. Okay.
Can't have two amendments.
Very well, thank you. Great, thank you for that clarification. In which case, I think then if there's any further discussion on the amendment, which is basically to return the text of the immediate of the motion. I will put that vote now. All in favour of that amendment?
That's the...
No, this is
the motion.
This is the amendment.
My apologies.
All right. Do you get all those hands before? All right.
Can you just clarify? I mean,
So this is the amendment. So the amendment being essentially that the original text of the motion be returned. All in favour of amendment as printed. As if you are in favour of that amendment. All right. All against. All right. Well then, the amendment becomes the motion. All in favour of the motion. Against. Carried, and thank you for your patience with that. Well, thank you, councillors. That concludes the Financial Policy Committee meeting with the time being 2010. I will call on Councillor Whitten to conduct the Infrastructure Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Set myself up here. Okay. I'd like to open the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting of the 6th of May, with the time being 8:11. There's no declarations of interest. Item 2.1, minutes of the Airport Community Committee meeting held on the 27th of March. Recommendation is on page 5. Councillor McDonald. And Councillor Sedman, seconded. Any discussion, Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to support these. However, I did just want to make a comment. Can we, as an operational, suppose, things, there was no way for me to dial in. I wasn't able to actually get out to the airport, but there was no option to actually dial in for this. And this isn't the first committee that I've heard that this can be an issue on. Can that be something that we look at so that all committees, at least where you are able to attend online, actually is the facility? Because I'm sure they have the facilities out there to do it.
I'm sure that can be accommodated, Councillor McDonald, given that the
Would that be
technology...
as simple as Tammy or I just dialing in from our iPad for you? Was that, or do we need?
Councillors, this is my meeting. Thank you. I'm sure that can be accommodated, Councillor McDonald, because given the technology skills we have in this council, it would be a breeze. Is that fair to say, directors? I'm just going to give authority and say yes, Councillor
Thank you,
McDonald.
Chair. Thank you. Appreciated.
Any further discussion on this item? Councillor Peterson, my apologies.
Thank you. It was a question, but thanks to Director Green, now more of a comment. On page 22 of the action plan, there was a comment on airport security. Couldn't see much in the on airport security, but it was in there when I approached the director. It is a potential future expense and a requirement after the incident at Avalon Airport, and would love to see more details on that in the future. Last plan.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Look, I think it's a foregone conclusion that we will ultimately have security at the airport. It's just a common sense approach. Just a matter of whether we can get grant funding to offset the cost to the ratepayers. And I'm sure the director's working on that.
Active application at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Director. All righty. Any further discussions? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. We've got 2.2, which is the minutes of the City of Orange Traffic Committee meeting, 8th of April. It's been moved by the Mayor, seconded by Councillor Powell. Any discussion on this item? Okay. I was going to say Francis. Councillor Kinghorn. I need the names turned around facing me.
Yeah, just a question. So page 61.
Yep.
And we're talking about the Anson Street parking, like changing the taxi zone. I'm just interested as to, that's being moved. Is that going to reduce the parking by this change?
I'll put that through to the director. No?
And with the chair's permission, I'll ask for Jason Theakstone to comment.
Through you, Chair. No, in short. Yes and no. Sorry. Yes, it will reduce the parking by about 65 metres, I think. The length of the BB line there on their entrance is very narrow because of parking either side. The road's very narrow. There's a lot of complaints about people, students, parking on that section of the road. So it reduces it significantly, a little bit, I should say.
Okay, so sorry, I thought you said 65 metres.
About 65 metres, so 30 metres on either side, I think.
Might be a confusion.
I think you're talking about somewhere. I think you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, I should have been more specific. No, sorry, I thought I mentioned the taxi changes. Yeah, because they're moving
the taxi. It won't reduce it. It'll take 1 or 2 parks, I think.
So it will reduce the parking by a couple. I'm just very paranoid about parking in the CBD, so I just wanted to know. Also, on page 78, where it's got the picture about that, I just noticed, and it's on a few of them actually, we're using the American spelling for metres. Can we stop doing that, please? Because it's really annoying.
Slide on to the author.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, well, Officer Theakstone's there. Item 3.4 in the minutes, it says Allenby Road. Can you give us some idea what date that's going to be?
Not offhand. It comes down to the sign crew's availability. But soon. Yeah, it comes down to their availability to erect the signs.
Yep.
It'll be done out the front of the actual Kinross owned land, so it won't have much of an impact.
Thank you, Jason. Any further questions? Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I have a matter arising. Had some residents contact me asking about the intention behind reducing the Forest Road and if there was any plan to review that for its.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Through the chair, if I may answer. The speed reduction on Forest Road was brought about from a matter arising out of the 2nd June meeting in 2023. Councillor Evans, where he requested that for safety purposes, we investigate dropping the speed from 60 to 50. That was referred to Transport for New South Wales. Transport for New South Wales assessed the route and determined that it was appropriate to be reduced to 50 kilometres per hour.
Great memory. Thanks.
Councillor McDonald and Councillor Kinghorn.
Just a matter arising too, if we're going to do those now.
Well, not really. I was going to pull him up on it.
Okay. Okay.
The arisings come after the motion. Yeah.
I can wait until we adopt these, and then I'll do a matter.
Since I had a big win on Saturday night, I'm very gracious at the moment. So.
Mine was also a matter
What win was that, Councillor?
I think they call it the Australian Labor Party and the Prime Minister. Any further questions? No further questions. I'll put the motion. All of those in favour? Against? Carried. Unanimous. And a matter arising, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. As everyone knows, as you just alluded to, we had a massive election. Now, just regarding Tilapia Way, I had the enjoyment of standing there for polling, and I realise that the medical centre there is otherwise unoccupied at this stage, but there are residents that do live along that area. I'm just wondering if the Traffic Committee can consider investigating a pedestrian refuge in crossing that road because, as I said, although that medical centre isn't occupied, crossing that road and there are elderly people that live along there, it's insane, the traffic there. I'm surprised someone hasn't been skittled yet. So if the traffic committee would be happy to...
Well, if you could be so kind as to drop a note to the director,
I can absolutely
and
do
he'll
that.
refer that to the traffic committee,
Through
I should
you,
imagine.
Through you, Mr. Chair. It's already been raised. We're aware of that.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. See, I'm get things done straight away, Councillor. Councillor
You're a
Kinghorn.
fixer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So another matter arising, and it relates to what Councillor Peterson was saying about the change in speed limit on Forest Road. It just got me wondering about the reduction in speed limit in the CBD, which was from a meeting about 5 years ago from memory, so before my time. But presumably when they assess a suggestion like that, then the decision is based on some data, and it's now a year and a half since we changed the or 12 months or something since we've changed the 40 kilometre limit. I wanted to know what we do in terms of follow-up to see whether whatever data was used to decide that the high pedestrian activity areas should be 40 Ks, presumably that's accidents, that sort of thing, or near misses, whatever. Is that followed up? How do we follow that up to see if it's working?
I'll ask Jason Thigstone to respond to that question. Thank you.
That's a really good question. Back when we wrote the report to bring the speed limit down to 40 kilometres per hour, there was 8 pedestrian crashes in the 5-year period going up to that time. Each year, or each quarter actually, we get crash stats and we review the crash history each year. There hasn't been any pedestrian crashes in the year after the 40 kilometre or reported crashes after putting the 40K zone in, but we review them every year, look for trends and look for opportunities to do black spot funding.
Okay.
So it's a good news story so far.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Righty, no further questions. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? They're matter arisings.
No, a matter
I've done that. We're on to item 3.1 now, current works. And the recommendation is on page 98. Been moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Discussion on this item. Councillor Kinghorn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So on page 100, I was just curious about the burst mains. For the whole year, there was 79, and in March there were 30, which just seems like a lot. Just wondering what the underlying story is with that. Why would there be almost half the year's worth in 1 month?
Refer to the director.
And I'll take that one on notice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? There being no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, carried unanimously. And a matter arising, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just reiterate Councillor Kinghorn's request to spell meter correctly in this report as well.
Noted. Councillor Greenhouse.
Matter arising, if I can, through you, Mr. Chair. I've been getting a lot of inquiries from members of the public, our ratepayers, about what's going on with the Planetarium Conservatorium. It seems to have come to a bit of a standstill. So, yeah, just wondering if we could have a bit more of an update on that for our community.
Alrighty, I see the CEO dropped us a note during the week, but I will refer to the director on that. We probably will delegate it to someone else.
Well, I can certainly say that we've got the columns are being stood on the level 1 at the moment, so the structural steel work is progressing. What some people probably haven't seen is the first level, like the ground floor level. Most of that has been fitted out now, so that's progressed quite well. It's probably worthwhile having a run through with councillors at some stage.
Through you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We were advised, Mr. Director, some time ago that there were an issue with some of the slabs. My understanding from the conversation which we had with the CEO, there was an issue between the builder and the supplier. Council, is that my understanding? Has that changed or has something happened since then?
I discuss contractual matters in closed. Yeah, that's correct.
But there's been no issues that have arisen since then? And the work is still continuing in, my understanding, in 2 other areas of the con? Thank you.
So for those who are audio, the CEO was confirming all of the points that the Mayor just put forward for people on the internet. Councillor Duffy, are you waving at me for any good reason? Or do you like to ask the question?
My question is, I read an article, not an article, but I read a comment that said the building commissioner is in town. Is he in town to inspect our building because of the fault that's there?
I don't.
Is he in there for that? Because the biggest reason why I'm going to back up
We've got
Councillor Greenhow here is the fact is there's a hell of a lot of money there, which is directly ratepayers' money from sewage and water, which is around about $16 million plus, and we're still short of money. So
I think it's been answered, but we've got a director. We've got.
It's a bit of a shame that we're not a bit more transparent.
We'll let the director speak. Now, we brought out the big guns. You have, Councillor.
A couple of questions there. Yeah, the building commissioner, I think, is in town this week or next week, and he's there. Nothing to do with the conservatorium at all. I think he's doing a flying visit, and he'll be talking probably to Master Builders Association and various other people, including our staff. Fantastic. The conservatorium, we briefed council, I think 3 meetings ago, we told you about a concrete slab problem that the builder had with a manufacturer, and we've moved on since then. Project is the subject of discussion at the Major Projects Group, which I think you're a member of. No, you're not. Okay. So I don't think staff are hiding anything. We've got a contract with the builder called Renaissance. Building is going ahead. There's 3 main construction areas within the site. There was a hold up within the main sort of concrete area you can see from the street. But even if there is a hold up in one area, they can keep working in other areas. And as the director said, the fit out's going really well. And I think a site visit might sort of end this squabble on Facebook that somehow there's something wrong with the project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you.
All righty. Any further matters arising? If not, I thank you all for your attention, and I'll close the meeting at 8:27, and I will invite Councillor Greenhalgh in the hot seat.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. I'd now like to open the Recreation and Culture Policy Committee meeting with the time being 8:38. I believe we have no declarations of interest. So we'll move on to item 2.1, minutes of the Orange Showground Community Committee meeting on the 8th of April 2025. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Judge. Is there any discussion on this item? I'll put the motion first and then we'll do the matter arising. So, show of hands for? Unanimous.
Yeah,
So, Duffy?
matter arising is the learning, the environmental learning facility. Members of the coming up very soon.
Through you, Madam Chair. Absolutely, Councillor.
Thank you. We'll move. Duffy. We'll now move on to item 2.2, minutes of the Sport and Recreation Community Committee meeting held on the 9th of April 2025. There's a recommendation on page 27. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Power and Councillor Judge. Any discussion on this item? Not. I'll put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. That concludes.
Rising Chair.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
I'd just like to comment and thank the New South Wales Minister for Regional New South Wales, Tanya Moriarty, who was in Orange last week. And she was here for some stuff, a very quick visit, short notice, but she asked to speak to myself and the CEO and the director out there at the Sporting Precinct. It was her first opportunity to go out there, and she was really impressed with the way things were progressing out there. And she asked me to pass on my thanks to council staff for the way that was progressing, so that was really encouraging. And she indicated that whilst she does travel through the area a lot, that was her first opportunity to see that. And I understand the minister is a keen fishing woman. I thought it might be an opportunity for council to perhaps write to the minister and invite her to the opening of the fishing season. I understand that the Spring Creek Dam is opening in a few weeks. I'm not quite sure of the date. Open to Redfin. CEO, is that something we could do? Write to the minister, invite her back for that. Thank you. She's always welcome here in Orange, and she was very engaging, as were her staff. So it was a pleasure to have her here. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. It certainly is a pleasure to have them come out and, showcase what we're spending their money on. So thank you for that. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Recreation and Culture Policy Committee meeting, with the time being 20:31, and I call on Councillor Ruddy to conduct the Services Policy Committee.
Terrible chair. It's like he's sitting in a Ferrari.
I would like to open the Services Policy Committee meeting on the 6th of May 2025, with the time being 8:32. Okay, so item 1.1, declarations of interest. Does any councillor have any pecuniary interest, significant non-pecuniary interest, or less than significant non-pecuniary interest in any matter listed for consideration at this meeting? Wonderful. We'll move on to item 2.1, meetings of the Family and Domestic Abuse Community Committee. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mallard and Councillor Steadman. Any discussion on this item? Great, thank you. I will put the motion. All for? Any against? Unanimous. Item 2.2, minutes of the Health Liaison Committee, Community Committee meeting on the 26th of March. There's a recommendation on page 31. Can I have a mover? Councillor Peterson, and seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? Amazing. I will put the motion. All for? Yep. All, and any against? Unanimous. Thank you. The minutes, item 2.3, minutes of the NAIDOC Week Community Committee meeting from the 27th of March. Recommendation on page 65. I've got Councillor Power to move and seconded by Councillor Mallard. Again, any discussion? Love it. I'll put the motion. All for? Any against? Unanimous. 2.4, minutes of the Ageing and Access Community Committee meeting from the 27th of March. Recommendation on page 111. Do I have a mover? Councillor Peterson, and a second. Councillor Power. Discussion on this item? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All for? Unanimous. Item 2.5, minutes of the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Committee meeting on the 31st of March.
Happy to move it.
Recommendation on page 145, moved by Councillor Miletto, and a seconder is Councillor Judge. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Power.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a discussion in relation to where the there was a request from the sorry, I forgot these names, the police officer. That he put a recommendation back to the chair in relation to council still providing awareness of keep cars locked, make sure that houses are locked, and that report any of those crimes. Is there any aspects in relation to that there being fed back to Orange City Council? Happy for that to be taken on notice. I did note it in the minute there where he put that up to just to say, listen, can we just make sure that Orange City Council is making it aware that keep your cars locked, keep your houses locked, and any break-ins, because they'll come around that report, so break-in and entry.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just glanced at my colleague, Director Sharp. She's happy to do that through our communications.
Sure. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Appropriate.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you. I will put the motion. All in favour? Everybody. Lost? Oh, we do. Okay, yep. 2.6, minutes of the NAIDOC Week Community Committee from the 24th of April. So recommendation on page 173. Can I get a mover? Councillor Greyhouse, and second by Councillor Power. Any discussion on this item? I will put the motion. All for? And it's unanimous.
Just a matter arising, Chair.
Yes.
Just for the record, I'd just like to declare that it's non-pecuniary, just for informational purposes. I sit on another board with an individual who's the national chair of NAIDOC. I just want to put that on the record. It's non-pecuniary. It's just for
Thank you, Councillor.
future purposes.
On to general reports. Item 3.1. There's a
Sorry. Yep. I'm good. I'm good. I just thought. Yep. Sorry. I'm confused.
proposal to merge some community committees. So there's a recommendation on page 219. Can I get someone to merge? Moved by Councillor Miletto, and a second, Councillor Judge. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, just a question, I guess, given the Orange and Cabon Road Safety Committee, does Cabon have any issues with us putting it into another Orange Council committee?
Through you, Madam Chair. We've had difficulty conducting the road safety meeting with representation from Cabon, and so it's been a challenge to get responses. So I'm unable to answer that question through lack of a response to a request as to whether there were any concerns or not. And that's part of the reason, obviously, as summarised in the report, for the request to merge the two so that we can actually have a meaningful discussion around road safety, which we've been unable to do on many occasions.
Thanks, Director. Yep, in light of that, yeah, I'm happy to support going ahead with the proposed merger. Thanks.
And Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's probably a good idea. Probably should have. Liaison officer is.
That's correct.
But can I just confirm, so we're essentially dissolving that committee and then just moving our traffic safety into? Okay, cool. Thank you. Any further discussion on that one? And I will put the motion, all four. And it's unanimous. Thank you. So thank you, councillors. That concludes the Services Policy Committee meeting with the time being 8:39 p.m. And I call on the Mayor to conduct the Regional and Economic Development.
Go.
Thank you, Councillor Ruddy. I'd like to open the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting 8:40 p.m. Councillors, if we go to item section 1, in item 1.1, declaration of interest. Does any council have any conflict of interest here that they'd like to disclose? We'll move on. Item 2.1, minutes from the Clifton Grove Community Committee meeting held on the 27th March 2025. Council's recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kinghorn, seconded by Councillor any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just a little bit similar to what Councillor Mallard was speaking about earlier, the quorum of 3 community members plus the chairperson. We do have 2 councillors on that committee, and if for whatever reason because I'm the chair, but Councillor Peterson's also on the committee, and if I'm not there, then does that mean that the meeting can't take place, or is it just assumed? I'm asking because there'll be a meeting in June where I may not be there, or I'll have to attend via Zoom, and Councillor Peterson's agreed to chair that meeting because it's too hard to do by Zoom. So is that covered by this, or do we need to change the wording?
I'll just refer to the Director for a comment.
So you can delegate the chair role to the other councillor for the period of that, and then that will allow the chairperson and have a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Peterson.
May I ask just one clarification based on that? I'm the only councillor of the sister. I thought if I was absent, I would just ask one of my colleagues to do it for me. Is that, or does that someone actually need to be able to fill in as chair?
Another question for the Director.
Can we take that one on notice? Because I think there's a broader conversation about sister cities that we need to have, and I think that's, if I'm correct, that's the only committee that we have that only has 1 councillor, and the other one that we just fixed up in the previous with Councillor Ruddy at the chair. So I think if we can take that one on notice, we'll talk about it when we bring sister cities up.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Being none, I'll put the motion. A show of hands. Unanimous. Councillors, if we can have a look at item 2.2, minutes of the Economic Development Community Committee held on the 2nd of April 2025. There's a recommendation on page 29. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kinghorn, seconded by Councillor Power. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Power?
Oh, just a matter of rising, please.
Okay, we'll deal with the motion, discussion first. Is there any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. Councillor Power, you have a matter arising?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It was great to see the Minister come through and actually that report being put out. Is there any chance of that report being released? I'm having a real mind blank here tonight. Sorry, it's the consultation report in relation to passenger.
We'll take that on notice, Councillor, and get back to you if that's okay. Thank you. We'll now move to item 2.3, minutes of the Lucknow Community Committee meeting held on the 3 April 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion on this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 2.4, minutes of the Spring Hill Community Committee meeting held on the 8th of April 2025, moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Roddy. Any discussion on this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. A show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting, with the time being 8:44 p.m. I'll now resume the council meeting. Councillors, item number 4, rescission motions. There are none. So we'll move to general reports, which is item 5.1, draft integrated planning and reporting, community strategic plan 25 to 35, delivery program 25 to 29, operational plan and resourcing strategy 2025 to 2026, including long-term financial plan, budget, fees and charges, workforce management strategy and asset management strategy. Councillor's recommendation on page 17. Mallard? You're moving it. Councillor Mallard, yes. Seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Any discussion? Councillor Mallard?
Just say, don't intend to speak a lot on it. It's all going out on exhibition. Encourage the community to look at it, but want to thank staff. I know the massive amount of work that's gone on, community engagement around the community strategic plan, and then developing all of the documents that sit under that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonnell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll echo that as well, just and congratulate staff. It's a massive body of work to get this done in a short time frame, but it is incredibly important work, as we all know. So thank you to staff for doing the hard yards.
Any other discussion? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. We get 3 questions. So on 5.1, the draft CSP engagement report sent to us on the 31st of January. It was notable, I thought, that it had an attempt to quantify the community priorities. For example, 127 community members nominated roads as their number 1 priority, as opposed to a single nomination for local art and music, most important priority. The strategic plan doesn't appear to reflect a sense of priority. For example, we've got the road infrastructure for growing city, page 47, but it seems to have equal importance to strategy 4.1, provide a diverse range of creative and cultural facility services and programs. I guess the question being is, when there's competition for expenditure of our limited resources, they attempt to prioritise based on the numbers from our community engagement, or do we use some other way of deciding what the majority of the community would prioritise?
Oh, Mr. Chair, if I may, that's a very, very interesting question. Look, it's a process of integration, and it's not an exact science. I mean, part of the answer is your role in all of this, and part of this is exhibition. We will go on exhibition. We'll get more evidence of what is really important to people. On roads, for example, we will be spending, I think, $4.4 million on roads. That there's also a capacity issue on what we can actually deliver that comes into play. I think the simple answer is staff do their best to recognise priorities. They also recognise capacity to deliver. But it is not a perfect science. We'll have the pre-work. We've got your role. We'll have the exhibition, and again, if there is something overwhelming, we've had examples before during exhibition where playgrounds have just been put in because of the overwhelming from the community. And indeed, there are things that we don't throw money at because we know they're not. Take a really good example is the environmental programs that, if you look at the last 6.5 years while I've been as CEO, we have thrown a lot of money at that, and we were well backed by the community, well backed by the Environmental Sustainable Community Committee, and we've done the heavy lifting. If you look at this CSP, it's not a high priority, but then it doesn't need to be, because we have saved $3 million on street lighting, on the long-term contracts with Iberdrola. So that priority diminishes and we move on. I hope that helps.
Does with the asset, I sent a few questions. There was a couple that would be worthy of further discussion. On page 131 of the asset management strategy, there was some quite honest figures about the infrastructure renewal backlog. I guess the $10.2 million question is, you know, with the management strategy and the 4 suggested options, I imagine that increasing general fund renewal expenditure would be palatable to councillors in the community. How to that.
Can we ask the CFO?
Yes, ask the CFO to respond to your questions, Councillor.
Yeah, through the Mayor, thanks very much, Councillor Peterson, for that question. So with respect to the renewal backlog and the $10.2 million question you're referring to there, essentially this is not unusual. You know, and then your point about, well, what the 4 options being available to try and resolve that. Councils don't tend to necessarily resolve a backlog per se. Part of having a backlog is a function, I think we mentioned before, about resourcing and having the resources available to do it. And secondly, it creates an argument for obtaining grant funding for it. So we continually look for grant funding for roads, and we successfully get that funding. So that's kind of where we sit. We don't want to try and resolve it, but we know it's sustainable, and we've charted it through for the 10-year period there. It's not, there's no runaway negative trends there. It's just we're in a holding pattern, we're funding it, but there is no quick fix to it. You could sell some land, that's a one-off, it's just creating that difference, but you're still going to have the other 25 mil in there that would need to be funded. It's just not possible to resolve the funding gap, but there are solutions, and we're just managing it, and we're comfortable with where it's sitting. It's not uncommon. A lot of councils are in that same position.
I just have a question. Is this a typical issue for all councils that you're referring to?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson? And
the final one I was going to ask on page 239 concerning the budget, got budget deficits with significant drops from continuing operations listed in the years beyond there. I just wanted to know why that was.
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So Peterson, and if you turn to page 243, you'll probably see some more detail behind that. But effectively, the main cause for those significant drops, the biggest one is capital grant funding. So we know that we've had a fairly high level of capital grant funding, but we also know in the new electoral cycle, the new budget cycle, that really comes right off. We're trying to reflect what we know is achievable, but also we will collect it, but we're not going to put up a higher number that we just don't think we'll ever get. So we're actually that's all just capital grant funding. So in terms of the operational grant funding, that continues the same level. Every other income stream continues. The other one would be the other revenue, and that is a function that will vary and swing around quite a bit, which you'll see, and you'll see in the prior years as well. But again, and that's something to do with internal charges for our different departments. That's part of the component there, but we're not we're comfortable with that. That doesn't make the significant difference. The significant difference comes from those capital grants. That answers your questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of questions relating to the tables. So page 195, 199 and 203. So the water fund, the consolidated and the general fund. The figures for the current financial year are lower in terms of rates and annual charges than last year. And then the projections over years after that, which are obviously going up. But I'm just wondering why the current year is lower than the previous year. Is that because that's not a projection? That's only all we've got so far? Or it doesn't normally go down? So or is that just because we've got more people not paying their rates?
Are you clear on the question, Mr. CFO?
Let's get you to repeat that again. Thank you. I was just grabbing the
The
table.
first one's page 195. So the water fund rates and annual charges for 24-25 are $150,000 lower than last year.
9.5. Okay, the long-term financial plan.
Yeah.
5. Okay, so I'm there. If you could just repeat that for me now.
So 195, the water fund, the rates and annual charges for 2024-2025 are around $150,000 lower than the previous year. And I'm just wondering if that's because it's not fully realised yet because the year isn't finished, or is that what it's going to be? Because the rest of it's all projected, which is fine. But I was just curious as to why that was, because it's the same thing on page 199 and 203 with the general fund.
Yep. Unless Director Granham can comment on that one, otherwise I'll take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. And while you're there, on page 197, the income statement for the sewer fund, we've got a heading for rates and annual charges, which we have a figure for in 2023-24, and then nothing for any other year. Looks like they've been merged, and so they're all under user charges and fees. But I'm just not sure why they're not separated for the other years.
Yeah, that's correct. They have been merged. I think that's the way we report in the financial statements, and we've just tried to make it lie with that.
Except for last year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Director Greenham, you were going to add a comment?
Just in regard to the income statement for the water fund, I suspect the difference come about that we've taken a conservative approach, and one lot is the budget for this financial year rather than the actuals will come through. So, and we've probably taken a conservative viewpoint on it.
Thank you.
The actuals for 23-24 would be the audited actual column.
Okay.
Any further questions, councillor? None. Any other further questions from any other councillor? Okay, I'll put the recommendation. A show of hands. Unanimous. Yes, you can.
Yes. I just want to make a comment about the Experience Orange event, which was at Botanic Gardens on Sunday. It was incredible, really good turnout. I believe we're getting a report with some information on that. But I just want it to be noted that maybe we should look at that as an annual event.
Yes, that has been discussed, and depending on what the report shows and the feedback which we receive, but totally agree with you, Councillor. I know that you're there, as was I, and I did see Councillor Stedman there, and that. But the discussions which I had with some of the people who visited, they were really impressed. The weather was fantastic, and it was about showcasing what Orange can offer, and feedback which we've received so far, it's been really encouraging. I think there was approximately 1,000 people there, which was really good for a first event. So well done to all council staff.
Yes, definitely.
And the exhibitors who are involved. Yes, Mr. CEO.
Councillors, just let you know, you voted on that, didn't you? Your say will fire up first thing in the morning. Exhibition will begin. Days? Yep. Okay. Thank you. So social media and etc. Any questions that you can't answer, please come to staff.
Thank you. Councillors, if we can have a look at item 5.2, Cook Park Wi-Fi. There's a recommendation.
Move it be noted, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Recommendation on page 407, moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion, councillors? There being none, I will put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Closed. Councillors, the Chief Executive Officer will now advise that the Council, if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
No written submissions, Mr. Chair.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2021, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of a kind as referred to in Section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in confidential sessions of Council meeting closed to the press and the public.
I move we go into close, Mr.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I was just waiting for the doors to close, that was all.
Read before the doors.
Sorry, my apologies. 6.1, New South Wales Local Roads Congress nominations for council attendance is classified under the provisions of Section 10A2F, matters affecting security of council, council and staff, or council property. Item 6.2, planning proposal land sales. 6.3, tender F4118-4, Orange Strategic Transport Model Update 2025, and 6.4, lease hangar site H, Orange Airport, is classified confidential under the provisions of Section 10A2C. Information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. 6.5, submission of a redaction report of the 6th of May 2025. It's classified confidential under provisions of Section 10A2 E, information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. Can I have somebody move that we go into closed? Moved by Councillor Rady, seconded by Councillor Power. And we'll just wait.